Hey guys, so I saw the Teresa Caputo, aka Long Island Medium, live experience last night, and I've talked about her on this channel a couple times. I think what she does is really interesting. I don't know if she's actually doing what she says she's doing. I assume she is. Seeing her live was basically exactly the same as her show. There was really, it's not like her show is, I mean, I'm sure her show is heavily edited, but it's not like, if you watch any of the recordings of her live big venue shows that they have in the series, it was exactly the same. Exactly. Like stuff that I thought had been edited in the show was how she actually is in person. Like sometimes she'll say something that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I was like, oh, they edited that weird in the show. And I'm like, no, that's exactly how she is in reality. And, you know, she went around and she read a bunch of people and everybody reacted in that audience exactly the way they do in the show. And so it was identical to watching the show. In fact, we watched most of it on the TV screen in the front because, like an idiot, I bought really good seats. I always buy really good seats to shows because I'm short and I like being able to actually see stuff. And so I bought like third row seats, and then after the fact I was like, after I bought them I was just like, we really should have bought seats all the way in the back because we're not gonna be able to see her walking around. So we ended up watching most of the show on a TV screen until she came like right next to us. Yeah, there was a bunch of, you know, traumatic deaths in the audience. The Horseshoe Casino on the south side of Chicago is not in the best neighborhood. There were a lot of people there who had some deaths that were unpleasant. But anyway, what struck me as always about her, I've made videos on this channel about this when I was watching the show. What struck me is how she just like, she's like an instant healer. She shifts people's perspective like that. It's just like, it's amazing. And I myself have experienced like sweeping life changes from an insight that comes to me, or new information that comes to me about some belief that I have or feeling that I have about something. And that is how I know firsthand that your beliefs are creating everything that you experience. If you ever have a major shift, and you probably have, and if you could think about it, maybe it makes more visceral sense to you how all of this manifesting stuff works. You know, you can be very firmly believing someone is a certain way, or that something is a certain way, or that something in your past happened a certain way, and you've drawn a conclusion from that, and then you find out that the thing that happened, you know, the point is that we have all these beliefs that are firmly in place, and they are held there due to made up evidence 99% of the time. Even if what it's based on is factually true, your conclusion is completely subjective and made up. And the way you're experiencing your life is coming directly from those things. And the way you know that is by experiencing, hopefully, a huge change in one of them and seeing how quickly immediately your experience of everything changes. But then often outer 3D world things begin to change without, you know, you intentionally doing anything as a result of this shift in belief. It's what this is really about. This manifestation stuff. It's what this is really about at the heart of it. If you're trying to manifest stuff here in the physical world, or experience something differently, this is where it's all stemming from. And it's why Neville Goddard says there's nothing no one to change but self. It's why there's really no need to try to manipulate anything outside of you, because it will happen as a natural byproduct of your belief change, and, you know, which affects so many things. It affects things that are imperceptible to you about yourself and about your perception. So anyway, again, this was demonstrated for me right in front of me this time, how quickly people's beliefs can be changed about something. I mean, the Teresa Caputo and regret following somebody's death, which is just sort of like a natural human thing. I've experienced it, of course, with my dad. Watching how this stuff can change on a dime just drove this all home for me in a real way again. And I wanted to just, the point of this video, other than to say that if you have a chance to see Teresa Caputo, it was fun. And definitely buy like the cheap seats in the back, because this was a 5,000 seat venue that I was at. And I think she probably sold out about 4,500 or more, but there was a lot of like room in the back. So if you get seats in the back, then you're not crammed in like a sardine and you can see everything. And there's a giant TV screen following her around anyway. So definitely don't make the mistake of buying good seats to that show, and go see her if you like her, or you've watched her show and you have a chance to see her. It was worth it to me. It was fun. I'd go again, which is saying something. The only other band I've seen, I've seen Ben Folds multiple times. He's amazing in concert. And I saw Toto a few years ago, and Toto was freaking amazing. I would totally go see Toto again. Totally see Toto. But what I wanted to say, I was thinking about, of course, this like beliefs changing reality thing. I was reflecting back on my own experience and these changes that I've had, some of which just kind of happened blessedly. This just kind of came to me. I just sort of, I'm always seeking, and sometimes I find, and sometimes things change because I just make a decision that they're going to, and I decide I'm going to be something else. That was really how things changed with me with money in my body. I just decided, I'm not going to be one of the huge statistic of people who just never are successful in this area. It's just not going to happen. I'm not one of them, and think about that. Why am I not one of them? It's just because I said I'm not. That's it. How many people that are smarter than me, more capable, are just going to languish in this, not successful, not physically fit, unhappy in their relationship? How many people are just going to stay there who, if you put us, in a competition with each other, they would win over me every single time. And when it comes to intelligence or looks or, whatever, skill, it's all mental. And, I'm not saying I don't have anything to be grateful for. I don't have any innate ability to do some of this stuff. I obviously do. But what I'm telling you is that it all was just garbage until I had the right mental attitude about it. And over the last several years, when my dad died, it sort of, I entered into kind of a phase of my life where all of this stuff had to be reinforced again by me on purpose. And so I've seen this again firsthand now, that the way you talk to yourself is huge. And if you're kind of in a state of being ineffectual or being kind of depressed, you have things going on mentally that are reinforcing that constantly. And it's an option to stop it. It's not always an easy option, but it's an option to stop it. And if you can't and you hit rock bottom, that's also a great place to be. It's a very clear mental place to be. And when you're at a place where there's nowhere to go but up, that can be a really empowering place to be also. But what I also wanted to say about this is that I think for so many people, there is a version of themselves that they have never experienced that seems foreign to them now, but if they were able to embody it for long enough, would feel totally natural and normal. I say this because of the huge change that I've experienced. I've embodied multiple different versions of myself. And before I embodied the version of myself that was kick-ass and is kind of hardcore about getting things going, like if I have a business idea that's just gung-ho, if I've found for myself personally that I'm the most effective when I have huge goals set for myself. I am happier if I am spending an hour and a half a day in the gym than if I am spending a half hour at the gym or 20 minutes. It's easier for me, honest to God, mentally, It's easier for me to do 90 minutes on a cardio machine than it is to do 20. How would you ever know that if you didn't experience it? It's like sometimes you have to push yourself past a certain point just to see, I remember when I was 22, I had this thought, what if I was kind of like ineffectual, that's my best word for it, intentions that never went anywhere, ideas that I never really had like the gusto to go actually pursue. And I remember thinking, what if I'm meant to be like an elite athlete? I was sitting there like, I don't know. I was never like really fat as in my 20s until later. And, but I was just kind of like, I'm kind of soft. I eat like shit. I just don't, whatever. And I was like, what if I just completely missed that I am meant to be like an elite athlete? Nobody ever like pushed me to do anything physical when I was a kid. What if like I would have been a great tennis player? Or what if what if the problem here is that I'm meant to be something way bigger than this, and I just never was like presented with an obvious opportunity for that? What if that's what I'm supposed to be? I remember thinking that on a walk around Lincoln Park in Chicago, which is where I lived at that time. So that was when I was 22. I remember where I was when I thought that. It's just like, what if all of this like minor effort I'm putting towards stuff what if that's the problem? What if it's that I need to be doing 10 times more than this? And it took me like 10 years to fully embrace that, but that was the case for me. The most natural and best feeling state for me is the one where I'm just like totally kicking ass in every way in life. And you start taking like some of those down a notch and everything just sort of starts to backslide. I had no idea that that's who I was for real. I had that errant thought when I was 22 that didn't really go anywhere. I didn't even know I had that in me to be that until I just sort of made a decision and started, doing a lot of stuff. And then I realized, oh my God, this is me. Like, this is where I feel comfortable. This is the identity that really feels good and right on me. It's that way to this day. And over the last like 3 years, specifically since I met Matt, I have a tendency to like get lazy when I get into a happy relationship and stuff like that. This reminds me a lot of my high school relationship. Matt and my high school boyfriend have the same birthday, by the way. Weird. Is it? They're both Irish too. I tend to like have this other personality, like my leisure personality is one that it's very easy for me to like slide back into, where I like to lay around and not do much and all of that stuff. It's like another version of my personality that luckily I have a life that supported my ability to just do that a lot over the last few years, without worrying about like going broke or anything like that. But, I've noticed it's really easy to slip into that personality, that version of myself, and getting back into this other version of myself that is really hardcore and kick-ass. Those are my two terms for it. That's what really feels like me. That's what in my gut feels right to me. And I didn't even know, the point of this video, I didn't even know that version of myself existed for the first 32 years of my life. So what I'm trying to say, and why I'm bringing it up in relation to the Teresa Caputo stuff and the belief changing stuff, is that people can feel very dejected about themselves. You may feel very dejected about yourself or your place in life. And I'm here to tell you there are a ton of versions of yourself that are available. Not all of them are going to feel right to you. And I don't think most people occupy thousands of versions of themselves throughout their lives. There's usually, here's how I was at this age, here's how I was at this age, here's how I was after this important life event, whatever. There are versions of yourself that you have not discovered yet. There are versions of yourself that are available. You are not stuck in whatever identity you're in right now. And whatever identity you're embodying right now has a whole bag of beliefs attached to it that are producing feelings and thoughts and an outer reality. It is very easy to get mired in even a very subtle sense of hopelessness. Like, this is the way it's always going to be. This is just who I am. Even if you're not saying those words clearly, there's a feeling associated with those words. And you can be feeling that feeling without hearing those words being said. It's very, very helpful if you can start to define feelings in words, because then you can start to say other words that change that feeling into something else. But the point I'm trying to make is, no matter where you are, there is a version of yourself that you've either embodied in the past and you need to snap back into that version, just start being that person again. Or there's a version of yourself that you have never discovered yet. If you haven't experienced great success, feeling really good and right about where you are with yourself and in the world and everything, that version of you exists. For sure. It's without a doubt. And it might be something that is very different than any way you've ever been. And you might find that you've spent 50 years feeling a certain way about a certain thing, and what actually feels good and right to you, despite that 50-year track record, is something completely different. Maybe you're like a negative person, and it turns out that when you are being inspiring and positive and bringing joy to everybody's day, that is actually the version of you that feels right. And this negative, depressive version that you're currently occupying or have been for a long time ends up feeling like a foreign thing that makes no sense. That's how I experience these periods of time where I'm very like lazy. That was how I spent like most of my life. 30 years of my life, I was never like enthusiastic and motivated about certain things. And then as soon as I started embodying that, that's when I realized this is really me. This is the true version of me that feels right when I put it on. So there could be things that you have not experienced that are totally different than what you're currently identifying with, that you're going to feel are way more you than these things that you currently are embodying. That's all I wanted to say. And those things can change on a dime. I don't care if it's been this way for 70 years. It can change on a dime. There's so much hopelessness as a human about things, and it's so unnecessary. It's such a sad waste of energy, and we all experience it. I go through this shit all the time. Like, I am in no way ever, pretty much ever on this channel, I am in no way speaking like as though I've overcome all these things I'm talking about. If that is not the case. I experience this all the time, and coming out of it is what makes me want to talk about it. So anyway, I hope that helped somebody. Have a great day.